Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Hugo, and welcome everybody. Thanks very much for your time today. Um, so I'll take you through the agenda for today. So initially, we're going to look at what is expat insurance, and also who are the types of people that tend to need it or want it. Then we'll look at some of the differences between international health insurance versus other types of insurance that maybe people have seen or have used in the past, such as travel insurance and local insurance, looking at the key differences. Then we're going to move on to the kind of main bulk of the presentation, which are those 5 reasons why expats tend to choose international health insurance, and we can look at those in some level of detail. Then I can summarize and just make sure I recap everything and bring it all back to the expat health insurance, and then hopefully at the end have enough time to answer any questions that may come up throughout the presentation. So don't worry, I should have some time to pick these up as they come in throughout the deck. Okay, so what is expat health insurance? So I think a lot of people will know about private medical insurance and some of the benefits of private medical insurance. But this is insurance that's specifically tailored to individuals who are living and working abroad. Okay, so these are people who are globally mobile. They've maybe moved overseas to study, maybe relocated for work, maybe relocated in retirement. Maybe it's always been a dream to kind of live out their days in a certain country or region. So this is insurance specifically designed for those types of people. Now, the types of the reasons why people then would need private medical insurance when they're moving overseas. There's a few kind of main reasons. Um, Maybe they're moving into a country where they won't have access to public healthcare, whether they're not eligible due to circumstance, residency status, nationality, age, means assessed. If they're never going to have access to private healthcare, if they are to get sick or require any treatment, they're very much on their own. So they'll need an insurance policy in place to make sure that they're protected themselves, their family are protected in the case of any kind of medical emergency. There are people then that are moving into countries who very much plan to move onto public healthcare, onto local healthcare, but maybe won't be eligible for it straight away. So they'll need a bridge. Sometimes, if you're in a country, you need to wait for your residency to come through, your visa to come through, maybe wait for employment to begin. There can be a whole host of reasons why you maybe won't have access right away to healthcare. So you may need a bridge, a private medical insurance to protect you and protect your family in the time between you arriving in the country and then actually getting that through, so you have access to healthcare. And then the other big reason why expats sometimes will look at private medical insurance is they've maybe lived in a country or worked in a country for a long time where they're used to a certain standard of healthcare. Maybe they're moving to a part of the world where medicine isn't as developed or isn't as available. There's not as much availability for good quality healthcare. Maybe that's the perception, maybe that's the case, but for peace of mind for themselves, for their families, they want to make sure that they have access to private medical insurance, so that if they or their family members are sick or need treatment, that they're going to have access to the standard of healthcare that they're used to and that they feel comfortable with. Okay, so in terms of expat insurance then versus some of the other types of insurance that people maybe will see online or hear about from friends or maybe have had in the past, it's just worth highlighting because this is something that customers do tend to ask us about on a fairly regular basis. So when traveling to another country, it can be travel insurance that maybe you would tend to purchase for a short trip. And travel insurance is very much designed for short trips, for holiday makers. It's very much there from a healthcare perspective for emergencies. So if you have a bad accident, if you require hospitalization, then that travel insurance should provide that protection for you. It's also going to provide coverage for things like cancelled flights, lost luggage, hotel issues, all that sort of thing. What it's not going to provide coverage for is routine and elective medical treatments, and this is why this is expat health insurance is designed for. International health insurance is designed for. It's designed for people who are on the move, who are living in other countries, spending extended time, so that as well as being protected in the case of having a bad accident or needing emergency treatment from a hospital, they have access to both routine and emergency healthcare. So if you wake up and you've got a concern, you're feeling tired, fatigued, maybe lost a lot of weight recently, put on weight, maybe have a rash or another concern, the expat health insurance is going to allow you to go and get that properly investigated. Go and see a doctor, have a referral, have a blood test, see a specialist, as well as that initial kind of access to investigate those types of issues. There's also a proactive element as well. So as rather than being reactive and waiting for something to happen, expat health insurance allows you to be proactive. So routine checkups, age appropriate cancer screenings, mental health support services. If something starts to feel wrong, or if you want the peace of mind to make sure everything's okay, that's the type of thing that expat health insurance is going to provide you. It's very much for the long term, including things like pregnancy, dental treatments, eye exams, glasses, all this sort of thing. It's much more comprehensive. It's about not just protecting you and your family, but allowing you and your family to maintain and protect your health moving forward. Probably even more common than customers asking us about the difference between international medical insurance and travel insurance is the difference between local insurance and international medical insurance. So probably the most obvious difference to point out is the area of coverage. So a local health insurance plan is just going to cover you in the one country. So it's not going to cover you abroad at all. Whereas an international medical insurance policy is going to cover you in the country where you are, but it's also going to extend internationally as well. Now, international health insurance policies there may be a better fit for some families who maybe find themselves in different places. So sometimes maybe somebody needs to go and work in a different country, maybe children studying a different country, maybe there's travel due to family commitments. An international health insurance policy is going to protect the family regardless of where they are, rather than just statically in the one country. The international medical insurance is also going to travel with you. So if you are moving for work and there's a likelihood that you might need to move again, maybe move again, and that's kind of the lifestyle that you've decided to leave, or if your retirement plans include spending time in multiple different countries, with a local insurance policy, you're going to need to cancel that policy down every time you move, go back to market, go back through an application process. And this can be quite time consuming, quite stressful. And as you get older with health insurance, it can become more difficult to find a healthcare partner. Whereas an international medical insurance policy is going to travel with you. So if you decide to move countries, if you decide to go back home for trips, then that then means that that international medical insurance is providing the protection. It's one less thing to worry about, one less thing to stress about. You and your family really do have a protection for life, kind of regardless of where you find yourselves being. Having that international element also provides a level of choice as well. So typically with a local health insurance policy, you may find that it's quite restrictive in terms to networks. Maybe there's only certain hospitals that you can use. By nature of international health insurance, and particularly with Cigna Healthcare, outside of the US, we don't have any network restriction, meaning you can go to any provider, any doctor. So not only does that provide maybe ease and convenience in terms of if you're traveling, you can go to the nearest hospital, to the nearest doctor. There's also an elective element to that as well. So if you decide because you require a certain type of treatment that you want to seek out the best doctor, the best hospital, then that then means that you can choose to go where you want to go, whether that's in the same city, the same town, even the same country. You can really maximize your options in terms of where you want to get treated. And because the nature of health insurance, international health insurance, because different countries have different prices, you will also tend to find that the benefit limits on health on international plans needs to be higher. So whereas maybe local health plans is very much specific to the sorts of limits that are required for that local market, international health insurance, because they need to cater for more markets, tend to have higher benefit limits. So as well as having more choice in terms of where you go for treatment, you're also likely to have more choice because you have more benefit limit to use up in terms of the treatment that you want to go and get, and really have access to the best hospitals, the best doctors, to aid with your recovery. So now on to the kind of main part of the presentation then, the 5 reasons why individuals and families tend to choose an international medical insurance policy. So the first one is probably the reason why people buy any type of insurance. It's financial security. This is probably more important with healthcare than any other type of insurance. And the reason for that is when somebody gets sick, whether it's yourself or a member of your family, that's a really, really stressful time. Particularly with certain diagnoses, then there's a long treatment plan, a long battle ahead. And what you don't want is, as well as worrying about the health concern, worrying about how you're going to pay for your treatment. If you don't have access to any healthcare, if you don't have access to good healthcare, then you're sitting there thinking, how am I paying for this treatment? I need to use up my savings, maybe sell my assets. That's a lot of stress that can be taken away with a good comprehensive insurance policy. Knowing that if you get sick, as stressful as that will be, you can focus all of your energy and your attention on getting better and not worrying about how you're going to pay your bills. Quality healthcare across the globe. Okay. So this is about having that flexibility of international cover to travel with you. If you're living in another country, the chances are you are going to have trips back home. You are going to find yourself in different places by nature of being an expat, being globally mobile. You're going to find yourself in different situations. And it's just not ever having to have that concern of, am I covered? What if something happens? Having that choice of provider, being able to go to any hospital, any doctor to seek out the best treatment. And one of the great things about Cigna Healthcare, if you do need to go for treatment, if you do need to go to hospital, Cigna has access to over 1.5 million direct billing partners. That means if you go for treatment, rather than having to pay and claim the money back, Cigna's in a position to be able to pay your bill directly to the hospital, taking even more stress away and giving you even more chance to focus on your recovery, focus on your family, and making sure that you get better. Teams of experts at your service. So Cigna is a global company, one of the largest insurance companies in the world. We appreciate some of the challenges when you're living in another country. So having somebody on the phone 24/7, 365 days a year to help you with claims, help you find providers, help you gain access to different resources in terms of life management assistance. Having that support there is really important to make sure that people never feel alone. Clinical support is all about providing peace of mind and guarantee. If you're in a country where maybe you don't speak the language, you may not be overly confident or comfortable with what the doctor's told you, what your diagnosis is, what your treatment plan is. So having access to clinical support to explain a diagnosis, to explain a treatment plan, a second opinion service, really is that peace of mind, that comfort, for when potentially people are going through quite a stressful time. So that's really important, particularly if you're in a country where maybe you don't speak the language. Faster access to treatment. So one of the big benefits of private healthcare is you tend to get seen faster. You get quicker response time from doctors, less waiting times. And then one thing I do want to spend quite a bit of time on in the time that I have left is the remote consultations. This has been huge for people over the past few years, particularly with lockdowns. And if you're in countries and maybe not familiar with the transport systems, maybe you haven't got a car yet. being able to use your phone to phone a doctor or to have a video consultation with a doctor any time of day in any country in multiple languages, this is a real lifeline for both single people and families. Getting advice, getting things for children, getting prescriptions, the remote consultation, having that available, as well as as well as having as well as having access to um, various mental health supports and a life management assistance as well. It's all about convenience and flexibility, giving you control over your healthcare. And then the fifth reason, this is all about being proactive in managing health. I've talked about this a few times. We try to talk to to our customers, to our patients as much as we possibly can about going for a routine annual health check, going for age appropriate cancer screenings, access to vaccinations. That clearly was a big thing globally over the past couple of years. Access for child vaccinations. These are things that maybe in some countries you'd be very used to. You'd be prompted through letters, etc. But if you don't have access to the healthcare, then you can find that these things kind of fall by the wayside. And we know through experience that if we can get people to go for their annual checkups, if they go for their cancer screenings, if they get their vaccinations, and then take the support from us on things like diet, like sleep, access to the mental health support, if we can catch things early and help people be proactive and take back a bit of control with their health, that makes the whole process of treatment much easier. It provides more treatment options, easier treatment. The earlier we find things, the easier it will be, and that's all done through being proactive with your health. So just to summarize them, we appreciate and one of the most rewarding parts of my job, people are often living out their dream, moving overseas, whether it's for work, for study, they're retiring into the sun, they've had a for whatever reason, it's an exciting thing. But it certainly does have a specific set of challenges for health and well-being. It can be really daunting. Moving to a new country is stressful enough, and some of the other speakers today will talk about all the other things that you need to have on your plate. And healthcare is really really important. Um, so by getting in touch, by understanding your options, by setting up a plan that suits both your needs and your budget, protects you, protects your family, and provides the kind of resources and support that you may need, that can help make sure that the transition is an enjoyable one. If this has been your dream, then Cigna can support and make sure that your health is protected, and in fact your health and your family's health kind of flourishes moving forward. So look, I really appreciate the time there, and yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions that may have come through.
Michael, thank you very much for that presentation. Really interesting, really useful. We've had some questions come in while you've been talking. The first one is there an age limit on Cigna health insurance policies for expats?
No, so yeah, no, there is no upper age limit for Cigna health insurance policies. We really do cater for the entire market from student all the way up to retirement. So yeah, we have people in their 80s, their 90s, even a couple of people in their hundreds living out that dream of thinking, right, I'm going to make that move. So no upper age limit. And just to add to that, which is also really beneficial, um, age can increase premium, but once you reach the age of 82, Cigna will no longer increase your premium based on your age. So it's not as if it will get more and more and more and more expensive as you get older. That flattens out at 82. So no, no upper age limit. Really do cater for people of all ages.
It's great. Another question is, if I get sick, will that affect my renewal cost?
Absolutely not. No. So claims do not impact renewal at all. So if you are to get really sick, your policy will remain in place for as long as you want as long as you want it to remain in place. And claims will have no impact on your renewal price. So your renewal price will be the same whether you don't use your policy at all or if you claim $1 million. We wouldn't want to to cause any issues with the long-term health. So there is no impact at all on renewal price based on any claims that are made.
One question I had was, are there limits on what countries the cover or you cover? Is it always global, or do you specify particular countries when you take out a policy?
Yes, so we do have a few different options. So we can provide policies that cover all countries, or we do offer a policy that just covers two. So yeah, it's really just taking the time to understand kind of what the requirements are, whether you will be moving about, what if there are people in the family that maybe will be in different places at different times. So yeah, we do have solutions, and we just tailor that to the individual that we're speaking to.
Okay, another sort of age-related question in a sense at the other end of the spectrum. Do you cover students?
We do, yes. So students is a big part of what we do. To be the main policy holder, you do need to be 18 years of age. So we can cover people under 18, but they'll need to be an over 18 on the plan as well. But for those kind of university age and studying, yes, we cover students, and in fact, it's particularly at this time of year, fairly frequent.
Questions coming in thick and fast. There was one that we sort of just missed that came up on the screen earlier. Do you offer discounts?
Yes, we do from time to time. So in fact, at the moment, we are offering a family discount. So for any families of 3 or more people, we are providing a 10% discount. And that 10% discount is not just for the first year. That in fact is for the lifetime of the policy. We also have some senior discounts running, and we do other promotions and discounts throughout the year. So yeah, always worth speaking to us. And yeah, we typically have something that we could offer. So yeah, always worth getting in touch and asking the question.
And so somebody asked, please would you explain the process of making a claim with Cigna?
Yeah, absolutely. So our preference is direct billing. So where it's possible, we'll look to pay the provider direct, so the hospital or the doctor or the dentist or whoever it is has provided the treatment. If for whatever reason they don't accept direct billing, which can happen in some countries, maybe it's a smaller practice, they don't have the infrastructure systems, etc. You can still use them. You would pay your claim, submit your claim online, which can be done through your customer area, and that's processed then in 5 working days, and we would reimburse the money back into your bank account.
Okay. Are there any specific health coverages that expats often overlook?
Yes, I think the part of our policy, I think that we talk to customers about the most is the outpatient part of our policy. So often people will be looking for what maybe they describe as catastrophic cover, just looking for cover for major things. So if they're hit by a car or have a heart attack or something like that. But what they maybe overlook is the importance of including ongoing outpatient treatments on their policy. So they may think, right, I only go to see a doctor maybe once or twice a year. That's only going to be 40, 50 euros or dollars or pounds a time. I can pay that myself. But the problem with that is if you're then diagnosed with a condition that requires you to go to a doctor once a month, get a prescription, get follow-ups, get blood tests, get checkups, these are then the things that can add up over time. And once these conditions have been diagnosed, it can then be difficult to get insurance for it. So we just talk about the importance of not just covering yourself for major emergencies, but potentially things that become ongoing as well. So just making sure that people understand the options and make sure they understand what they're covered for, and I suppose importantly what they're not.
I think one of the really interesting things in your presentation was about I imagine a lot of people need temporary cover if they move to a country where they will be covered by a local system. But that's often not the case straight away, and you may have to wait.
Yeah.
Maybe kind of visa restrictions or on accessing. I wondered if the majority or a good proportion of your clients are in that situation, or more likely moving to countries where there isn't a reliable system and they need sort of ongoing cover?
Yeah, it's really varied. There are some markets where people will either never have access to the healthcare, or they want private healthcare. Um, and that's probably the bulk. Most of the people we're speaking to are looking for long-term solution. Potentially because they know that beyond that year or the 2 years, however long it may be, they may end up moving somewhere else and moving somewhere else. So they want to have a policy then that will move with them, and essentially they can keep for the rest of their lives, if they so wish. But yes, we do also find that we do get quite a few people who say, look, I'm moving in here and I'm going to need a policy. But the biggest challenge they have is they don't know how long they're going to need to wait. So having that kind of flexible solution to say, right, I might need it for a month, I might need it for 6 months, I might need it for a year. So we just make sure that they understand how the product works, how the cancellation process works, so that they can have that protection in place for however long it is that they need it.
Great, thanks. Well, we've just got a couple of minutes left, so hopefully time for one or two last questions. Do you carry out reviews of people with pre-existing conditions?
Yes. So all of our policies are subject to medical underwriting. We would take you through a medical application at once we've agreed on a policy, once we've agreed on a level of cover, and then all of our applications are assessed case by case by our underwriting team. So we'll look in and look to offer the best possible terms we can. It's always a case by case. It really depends on the medical questions.
And one final question: I imagine that when you're an expat, you sometimes, if there was a medical emergency, you'd be wanting potentially to be repatriated to your home country rather than deal with in the sort of country where you're living. Does Cigna policies include repatriation in those situations?
They certainly can do, yes. So a lot of people would want that for peace of mind, particularly maybe parents who are purchasing policy for a student. Also, we find that a lot of countries, that's part of their visa requirement. So both repatriation, medical repatriation or evacuation if treatment's required, but also we can include repatriation of mortal remains, which also does sometimes come up as a requirement for visas. So yes, we can include those things if they're needed or wanted.
Digital nomads? Do you cover digital nomads who are roaming from country to country?
We do, yeah. In fact, that's becoming more popular over the past few years. People kind of really move it around, and that really is the almost an archetypal person that these types of policies are designed for. People that are going to be moving around and need a flexible solution for healthcare. So, absolutely, yes, it's something that it's the type of people that we speak to on a fairly regular basis.
Brilliant. Well, look, thank you very much for joining us today. To our viewers, if you want to get a quote or talk to somebody at Cigna, head over to expatfocus.com and look in the services drop down.